Hey there guys, Slyfox Kynyo here. I want to talk to you guys about something pretty serious, actually. You guys may or may not know the YouTuber Chess Jess is also my girlfriend. You might be able to tell that from the backgrounds from when we do recordings, because we both record from the same area in our house. And she has spoken on her channel at length about her struggles with anxiety or with depression or, things of that nature. But I think what gets left out of the conversation a lot of times, and this isn't just in our case, but in all cases, is that the people that help the people that have anxiety and depression, the people that function as a support group, sometimes just don't know what to do. And I am not in a position of authority to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you in my experience what does and does not work. So, let's get this rolling. What does not work? So let's take an example and say that your person who suffers from anxiety or depression is having one of their very bad depressive episodes. Like they are either wanting to self-harm, they're wanting to commit suicide, they are crying or screaming or angry. That's another one to look out for. A lot of people forget that anger can be a symptom of depression, but they are exhibiting signs that everything just is wrong, that they feel like their life is falling apart. And depending on who they are, they may or may not want to be touched, they may or may not want to be held, they may or may not even want you around. So the question is, what can you do? Well, you can do a few things. If you live with them or spend a lot of time around them, even if they want to be left alone, give them their space, but try to make sure that everything that they need is easily accessible. Make sure that there is water nearby, foods, if they need medication, that their medication is nearby if they haven't taken it. And you don't need to necessarily remind them, but make sure that it's visible to them and that they're aware. A lot of times when Jess is upset, she will put herself in a room and I will enter that room and I will just put things down. I won't say a word and I'll leave. Very rarely does the not saying a word thing always work, because sometimes they will try to engage you. And in that case, absolutely you can engage them in a positive way. But in my opinion, or in my experience, I should say, as long as you're providing things that can help them, sometimes they'll use them to their advantage and sometimes they won't. But even when they don't, at least then they have the opportunity to. What to do about somebody who does self-harm. So this is a topic that I'm actually familiar with many different people in my circle, my family circle, my social circle. I'm very familiar with the idea of self-harm. I have never personally done it, but I know a lot of people that have. What to do when somebody's self-harming? Well, obviously it's a detrimental act, right? You're hurting yourself. That's why it's called self-harm. That's an obvious statement. But what can you do about it? And the answer, honestly, is not much. As long as they aren't killing themselves, like literally, and as long as they're not bloodletting in insane amounts of blood or engorging or doing these things that immediately put their life at risk, all you can do is try and be supportive and let them know that the scars on their body, or whatever the case may be, the burns, whatever method they are using, they don't define them. And a lot of times these people that suffer from depression or anxiety and choose to self-harm, they become wrapped up in the aesthetic and the appearance of, well, I can't go out because my cuts will show or my burns will show or this, that, or the other thing. And you have to support them and remind them that self-harm isn't something that they're fighting alone, that they can continue to improve even if they have bad days. What you should not do, absolutely not, is tell them that they are wrong for doing it and engage them in a negative manner. They probably already know what they're doing is wrong. They're doing it because they feel like they have no control. So by you telling them that they're bad or that they're doing something wrong, they very well may interpret that as that they feel bad, and that's not something you want to add when they're already suffering from a depressive episode or an anxious episode. Another primary do not that I have seen is do not remind them that you have to deal with them when they're upset. This one is a pitfall that I personally see happen a lot, and I am guilty of doing in my own way as well. It's hard to remember that their depression is not them. That they are different entities. They're completely separate things. You cannot remind them that you are, or say, or imply that you are dealing with them. Because you're not, right? You're there because you want to help them. You want to take care of them. And it can be stressful and it can be frustrating, especially when they don't want to listen to you or they're arguing with you or anything like that. But by the same token, you don't need to let them know that. They are very, very painfully aware of it. And that's not going to help. And I understand that can be difficult. But don't let them know that you're dealing with it. Don't belittle them. Don't make comments. And I know some of these things might seem rather obvious, but what can be considered belittling to you and to them is vastly different, and that's what you need to be aware of. It doesn't matter if you think you're belittling them. It matters if they think you're belittling them. If the person suffering from a depressive episode thinks that by you bringing them water and putting it down on the table roughly is belittling them, that's going to worsen the depressive episode, not help it. So be cognizant of your actions, of your tone of voice when you're dealing with people who are suffering from depression, to try to help them, to try to be gentle, but not belittling, right? You have to be yourself and kind, but not be overly kind so that you are not yourself. At that point, you have lost, I guess, a tacit of the respect that you would have had for that situation. And that makes them feel uncomfortable and thus more upset. And again, I am not a psychologist, nor am I a sociologist, or anybody who has any authority about these matters. Please do not Please do not take what I say like completely to heart. Just be aware of it's what I've seen in my own experiences. That's the purpose of this video. Okay, a couple of the do's that I have found help somebody with a depressive episode or an anxious episode. Do remind them that they are loved. Again, don't do it in a patronizing way. Don't do it in a way that says, well, I'm here for you, and then just leave, because then you're not. But love them. I mean, and it doesn't have to be romantic love, obviously, but I mean, love and care and support them, because that's one of the biggest things that you can do for somebody is to love and care and support them. Another big do is make sure they have medications. Make sure that they have the ability to get medications if needed. Make sure they're seen by a healthcare professional who actually wants to listen and discuss what issues they have. A lot of times people who suffer from anxiety or depression don't have the ability to go to a doctor regularly, so if you have the ability as somebody who's around them to allow them to go, to drive them, even if it means you have to take an afternoon off work or you have to do something that might be a little bit inconvenient for you, it can change their life. Give a little so that they can have more, because it's always better to have another person in this world who is helpful and who is able to contribute even more than they already are, because then you can help them deal with their personal struggles in such a way that they will start improving faster. Don't just throw them to the curb. It doesn't matter if they're your friends or your lover or just some random dude who you see often enough to know his name but don't really talk to. If you think that you can help somebody, I personally believe you should try to help them. Now, obviously, you're not going to go down the street throwing out hundreds unless you have that kind of cash, in which case, if you do, cool. But that's not necessarily the kind of help that I'm discussing, right? I'm discussing emotional help, time help. Your time is the most invaluable thing that you have. It is the most important thing that you have. So to be able to spend it on somebody else to help them is one of the nicest things that you can do. So, let's see if I missed anything. Another big do is remember that just because they aren't in a depressive or anxious episode does not mean they don't have anxiety or depression. A lot of the things that change in life are things that they just simply can't do. Period. They just can't. Don't treat that as them choosing not to. It would be no different than if you had broken your leg and then somebody asked you to walk upstairs. You can either struggle a lot and go through a lot of pain to get it done, or you can just not. And if something upstairs is needed, then it's just not going to be needed until your leg is no longer broken or until it's in a much more strict cast, right? Well, we can't really cast our emotions. We can only work on them. So we have to heal this broken leg, this metaphorical broken leg, for these people that suffer from anxiety and depression before we can start to expect them to walk up the metaphorical stairs, right? Just keep that in mind. Again, this video is meant not to be accosting of anybody. It's not meant to be a finger pointer or a blame driver or anything negative. It is simply somebody from my perspective who is around somebody constantly who has severe anxiety and depressive issues. It's just what I've noticed. It's just my experience. So, thank you all very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more vlogs like this, just let me know what subjects you want to hear my opinions on. I'd be happy to provide. But yes, I would like to do these more often for this channel. So thank you very much for watching. Remember, through gaming, we can change the world. And love your neighbor. You know, that little thing. Love everybody. Love is good. Alright guys. See you guys in the next video. Through gaming, we can change the world. Slyfox out.